Hello people, David Moore here today. I with my long last cousin. I'm here with a very special guest. I'd like you to introduce yourself and tell us a bit about the program that you will be telling the audience about today.
Okay. Hello, my name is Feliciana Torres. I am from the Faculty of Education and Arts. Presently, I'm the chair.
Hi, my name is Delmer Sib. I am a history lecturer at the University of Belize.
Erica Aguilar.
And I wanted to tell us a bit about the program that you would like to inform us about here today.
I am from the Languages and Literature Department. And today I'm going to be talking to you about our education programs. We have biology in education. We have a bachelor's in biology in education. We have a bachelor's in primary education, a bachelor's in business with a cognate in IT, management or accounting. We have a bachelor's in Spanish education, an associate's in early childhood, and an associate's in primary education. Currently, we are working on developing bachelor's in early childhood education. So those are the main programs that we offer in our Faculty of Education.
The history program basically talks about discussions on Belizean history and looking at the realities of what Belize is today.
If you enroll in an Associates in English or Bachelor's in English program, you will be taking many courses that will have you travel around the world. For example, Caribbean literature, African American literature, Latin American literature, British literature, also technical writing, creative writing, poetry. So it's a lot of fun courses you will love. Some of the courses that we offer in our Faculty of Education are math methods, teaching methods, science methods, social studies content. We also have language methods for primary teachers 1 and language methods for primary teachers 2. We have Intro to Education, Instructional Technology. Those are some courses that the students need to take in order to complete their program. For our associate level program, we take students directly from high school. If you're interested in the bachelor's level, you must come with an associate's level. If you're coming from another institution, we do transfer of credits, which would allow for a smooth transition. For the Diploma in Ed program, you must have a bachelor's degree in teaching experience.
Okay, thank you so much, Mr. Delmer. I want you to tell us a bit about how you guys prepare students for their career opportunities after they graduate from this program, and what are some of the expectations that they can have coming into this program. Well, the history program is divided, I would say, into 3 general areas. One, you have professional core that prepares students primarily for the work of a historian, so archival work, doing analysis, critical reviews, and of course looking at literature reviews. And also you have courses that prepare you for regional and world history. And then of course we have courses that focus on Belizean history. All of these give you skills that enable you to be a critical thinker, a problem solver, basically allows you to adapt to any setting. So although we give a broad range for social sciences, our base can also provide a base for other areas of employment. And how are some of these courses relevant to be preparing you for the workforce, and how will they prepare the students to go into the world of work?
Sure. These courses, like I said, will take students around the world. So first of all, students will learn how to be a global citizen by being multicultural, having multicultural awareness, having multi-linguistic awareness as well, because linguistics is one of the courses that we offer in these programs as well. The nature and structure of languages as well. So the love for languages and culture. Communication skills cannot be overemphasized. The students will be able to present, they will be able to debate, they will be able to think critically, they will be able to be critical inquirers, they will be able to be socially aware of what's happening around them. They will be philosophically well-rounded.
Okay, so I need you for be bragging in other words right now. So now I call this the bragging segment of this whole interview. I call it the bragging section because I want to tell us a bit of why this so special, why this a program so good that people need to come into it. What are the competitive edge where graduates of this program will have if they attend the University of Belize?
Our programs are lectured by professionals and experts in the education arena. They bring their own experience to their lessons and provide relatable and correct information to our students that can be applied to their studies and to classrooms that they eventually go to.
Well, first of all, we're the only Bachelor in History program in Belize, so it's a number one choice if you want to do anything based in social sciences. Secondly, we prepare, as I had mentioned earlier, a broad range of professionals in a broad range of areas. So, for example, we have people right now working at niche, we have people being lawyers, we have people working at international relations, and there's a broad range that you can expand on. And that's really what the history program can allow you to do. It provides a range that you can explore within the social sciences.
Our graduates, let me start with who they are individually. Our program teaches them how to be philosophically deep, knowing who they are morally, where their moral parameters are, where their aesthetic acumen is, understanding who they are first as individuals, knowing themselves first through all the literature that we read. And then that also speaks to who they will be in the workplace. As a result, when you have people coming into the workplace knowing who they are, that is powerful because they will know where they stand and they will know their value. Knowing their value then puts them in a position where they're not there to compete against others, but to compete against themselves. And that's a philosophical depth that only our English majors grasp at the very, very, very beginning because of all the literature and the stories that they have read and the consequences that come with the decisions we make. So if you are an employer, you want sound critical thinkers. You want people who know their worth and their value. You want people who can think and assess a situation via all the perspectives. And so when we say philosophical lens, we are talking about Marxism. We're talking about psychoanalysis. We're talking about feminism. We're talking about constructionism. We're talking about all these perspectives that only an English major will bring to the table.
I love that you mentioned we have a lot of professional lecturers where they teach the students here, but also I want to elaborate a bit about the career opportunities that students may have after graduating this program and the marketability that it comes with.
Okay, our education programs are for the future generation of leaders. If you're interested in molding our future generation, then join our programs. Or these programs are for you. I have been in the classroom for 30 years. And I have students who are now parents and teachers themselves. They come up to me thanking me for the direction I gave them many years ago. And yes, we teach our students to become teachers and we teach them well.
I appreciate that you mentioned that we are the only one with offer this course, but I kind of make we change up the scene a little bit, lighten up the year a little bit, lighten up the mood a little bit. But now I want you to tell us, why should we join the history program and not other programs out there? There's so much where you have. Why history specifically, and what is the marketability, that it has in this program? Well, I think one of the biggest assets about being part of the history program is that we can give you personalized coaching. In fact, because our department is a bit small, we give special attention to our students where they're able to develop their skills, and they're also given a lot of opportunities and service projects where they can participate not only in research that the faculty is doing, but also in national projects that entail the promotion of Belizean history. The history program itself participates in other projects that organizations such as Niche carry out and other organizations in Belize. So it's not only about learning, but it's also about contributing to the Belizean society, to Belizean nationalism, and to understanding what it means to be Belize. And what are some of the job opportunities that may arise coming out of this program? Many of the graduates are actually working now either in fields that relate to culture, heritage and culture. Some of them are lawyers. We have, as I had mentioned earlier, people working in the fields of international relations. Some are like me, like myself, a teacher, and others have also used the history background to become entrepreneurs. So it prepares you to also become, for example, a tour operator, a tour guide, an activist. It prepares you to become a writer, journalist. We have a set of our graduates that are also journalists. So it gives a broad range of skills that you can use, as I had mentioned, in different settings.
Awesome. So being an English major is a fortress to many, many other career paths. For example, an English major can become a journalist. An English major can become a public relations officer. An English major can be a scriptwriter. An English major can be an actor. An English major can be a news anchor. An English major can be a writer. It could be for journalistic or creative writing, because we train our students to be academic writers, creative writers, technical writers. So these English majors can be developers of websites, not the programming part, but the one goes on that website. English majors can become diplomats, can become politicians, can become lawyers. All of this because it grounds them with a very, very important skill, which is communication, multiculturalism, multilingualism.
And now I want you to tell us a bit more about what is the purpose of this program and how does it apply locally and even internationally for the students?
Okay, locally our students excel in the schools where they are employed. In focus groups conducted with our stakeholders, we received positive reviews about their performances in the classroom. We have graduates of our programs who have gone on to teach internationally, both in exchange programs as well as full-time positions. For example, so we have a lot of our students or teachers that are teaching in Taiwan, in Malaysia, for example.
Well, on one side, whenever you talk about Belize and Belizean nationalism, we're talking about a community. And in order for us to create and understand how we belong to this community, history is very important. And it is through this program that we're creating other generations of historians that will continue enhancing that sense of community in Belize and that sense of responsibility for the development of Belize. Belizean history in itself is a way and a case moving forward for Belize's sustainable development. On the other hand, it also enables, the history program enables discussions on regional integration. So for example, we discuss Latin American history, Central American history, Caribbean history, how CARICOM and other international bodies are important for Belize's development. In fact, if you look at Belize's movement towards independence, we took an internationalist approach, meaning we went to these international bodies to lobby for our independence. That was our revolution. And we need to understand those processes in order for us to continue forging this independent belief.
This is one of the greatest parts of being an English major. These young people are prepared. They are groomed, they are disciplined, they are trained to navigate the different challenges that this world may offer locally and internationally. The fact that they are culturally prepared and they will know how to navigate different cultures, different people, different ways of doing things. They are mentally prepared via all these lenses to look at situations via politics, via economics, via psychology, via the environment. These young people are well-rounded, and that's the reason why an English major has a very, very, very strong foundation to succeed in any career path they so choose when they go out there in the workforce. For example, I have friends who are now lawyers who did the associate's and bachelor's degree in English with me. I have friends who are diplomats who did the bachelor's in English program with me. I have friends who are public relations officers. I have friends who are policy makers. So I'm telling you, being an English major will prepare you for the academic world. It will prepare you for the workplace. It will prepare you to be a fully rounded global citizen. And that is what we need today with everything being so digital and so global. So our English majors draw knowledge from Sigmund Freud, psychoanalysis. They draw knowledge from Karl Marx, Marxism. They draw knowledge from Virginia Woolf, the feminist, and many other works, Paulo Freire. I'm telling you, with all these readings, with all these literature that they study and engage with, these students, especially the ones who become journalists, are very trained in knowing how to look at frames, and look at whose story is told and whose stories is not told, and to think about themselves as agents of change, and to look at social justice. Tell the stories as it is happening. Tell the stories in an authentic, non-biased way. Because if we want this world to be a better place, it has to be told the authentic way if we want to solve problems. And that is something that English majors engage with in discussions in the classroom with all this literature. Whose perspective is told, whose perspective is not being told, and why is it that it is necessary that every single person's perspective is told, every single person's languages are involved, every single culture is considered and included in whatever decision making is done, locally or internationally. This is why the English program is so important. We need humanists. English majors are humanists. They cannot ignore their moral parameters and compass. So, David, we at the Languages and Literature Department, all of us are doing our part in disciplining and training these English majors to be agents of change for social justice, for the greater good.
We need to tackle this, Belizeans have to know what is the status of jobs, the availability of jobs after graduating. So where do these graduates go after they advance from this program? They were left hungry, they did smokes or anything. I want to tell us a bit more about that.
No, they won't be left hungry. Actually, teaching jobs are available. Most of our graduates are employed even prior to marching to their graduation ceremony. While they are studying part-time, they could be teaching at the school and coming to school. So the job that they're doing, they will be paid for, and with that, they can pay their tuition to come to school. Other students, we send them for Practicum 1 and Practicum 2, and during that time, if they do well in the schools, the principals from the various schools hire them to teach, sometimes temporarily for 3 months, and then they renew it for 1 year until they complete their associate's or bachelor's degree, and then you're hired permanent.
All right, thank you so much. But I also wanted to tell us a little bit about how can prospective students probably prepare before they enter into this program. Well, I think the biggest preparation is to change the mindset. A lot of people have a lot of misconceptions about history, about it being boring, about it being just reading basically. But history is a lot more. It opens a broader array of areas that you can expand on. We are currently exploring a lot more digital history, public history, looking at how we can make history more relevant for the Belizean society. Okay, thank you so much for your time, Miss Erica. I do need to take a page out of your book because sometimes I try to talk English, but my mouth decides to run it after the nearest Creole.
So yes, they're not going to be living hungry there.
Okay, so when I hear that nobody are live hungry if we not choose this department. And my last question for the day, last but not least, I want to ask you for some words of encouragement that you may have for some youths or some people currently deliberating whether they should continue their education and whether they just to come out of high school, or even some professionals who don't need the workforce already and they think, well, what if I should advance my degree and come back to the University of Belize and study?
Okay, for our youths, there is something for every area of interest at UB. Our program list is readily available on the UB website. Scholarships are readily available to the Ministry of Education. semi-government, and private business. Make the right choice and continue your education. We also offer part-time programs such as the Method in Education. We also have the Masters in Education Leadership that is offered virtually, fully online. So if you prefer to work and study, UB is the place to be. Our part-time programs are flexible and can fit your busy schedule. So UB is the place to be.
Well, as a graduate of the university, I encourage everybody to continue their studies. Whenever you choose education, you choose to create more opportunities for yourself and also create more opportunities for your community and for Belize as well. The University of Belize is a perfect space. It provides a sense of community. It provides a lot of quality. The lecturers care about your development, and that is really important for you and for Belize as well. So thank you once again for your time, Mr. Regan.
Thank you.
It was really nice having you. And I think you aren't upset it any bit that UB is definitely the place to be. So I want to thank you once again for your time and for informing us about the education faculty. All right, thank you so much, Mr. Delmer. Thank you so much for your time and for informing us a lot about the history program. I hope you learned something, if not anything. Please be sure to rewatch the video if you forget something or if you may have any questions. We will link the University of Belize email and the contact number, whether you may have any queries or concerns regarding to the programs on a whole. So we just want to thank Mr. Delmer once again for his time and for informing us a bit more about the history program. Thank you so much. Thank you for watching. Have a nice day.
Welcome, guys, to the University of Belize's podcast series, Jaguar Journeys, with the new summertime edition called the Summertime Buzz. We're back again with a new episode coming in from last week. We're continuing with what's next. After orientation, you guys know you need to read up. So with that, we have another part which is essential, which is the finances about the university. What we have here are the special people from the Development Finance Corporation with us. Guys, welcome. It's a pleasure to be here, and let's continue this conversation. So, can you introduce yourselves for me, please?
Sure. Thanks so much for having us here. I am Hipolito Bautista. I am the marketing officer with the Development Finance Corporation, and I am joined by my esteemed colleague.
I am Colleen Hamilton. I'm the
Welcome.
Junior Relationship Officer for Cayo Branch Department.
So, what is the DFC about? What is the program about?
All right. So DFC stands for Development Finance Corporation. We are a development bank. We are owned by the government of Belize, and we invest in four core areas for the development of Belize. One of them, of course, being education, what we're here to speak about today. We also provide financing for mortgage financing. We also provide business financing, both large and small. And we also offer sustainable energy financing.
Being that I'm a student myself and others watching who would like to know the same thing, what is the educational program about?
All right. Thanks for asking that, Raj. So DFC has what we refer to as a specialized education loan program, all right? We say specialized because of the numerous benefits that have been designed into the program to really make it accessible for students and as well as affordable as possible, right? So the program itself can provide financing for, students coming to UB, associate's degree, bachelor's degree, students who have graduated and they want to pursue master's degree, they can get financing from DFC, all the way up to PhD. In addition, we also give financing for certification programs as well as vocational programs, right? So let's say for those students who may not want to pursue academics, associate degree, but they want to go to IT vet or so, they can equally access financing from the DFC. Or if you have working professionals and they need to certify, get a certification, they can get financing from DFC to pursue that certification as well, right? So that is a spectrum of what we cover. Again, what is designed into the program? We provide the financing to pretty much cover all the requirements that that student would need to complete their studies. They can provide for tuition and fees. The financing that they get can provide for transportation. Let's say if someone wants to come and study at UB, but they have to travel from Toledo or from some other part of the country. We also provide financing for books and related materials if they need a laptop or so, right? Equally for boarding and lodging, equally that is provided for. DFC also provides financing, be it if a student wants to study locally here in Belize or if they want to go and study abroad, right? Benefits before, and this is a very good benefit, affordability. Before, DFC's financing for education was around 11%, I believe, 11%. And now we have reduced that to make it more affordable for students. We have reduced it down, starting as low as 7.5%. So that is one of the benefits in terms of the affordability of it.
Also,
Go ahead.
to mention that the interest rate is based on the reducing balance. So the interest that's applied to the student loan decreases as your principal balance decreases as well, or your interest payment that you're paying. We also look at interest being charged only on funds used. And so once you have a loan amount approved, we're charging you interest based on what you receive per semester. So it makes it a little bit more affordable for students or for family to afford, because you don't have that lump sum payment that you need to be paying every month and the money is sitting there. So it's very effective as well.
Correct. To add to that, another benefit, again, why it's a specialized program is because we offer something which is called a grace period, Raj, right?
Yeah.
And a grace period is, again, let's say if you have a full-time student, they're not working, right? So they can't like meet the principal payment and interest payment at the same time. So we allow that that student can only pay the interest for the entire time they're studying. So if it's a 2-year program or 3-year program, they can only pay the interest, and that makes it more affordable for the student while they're studying. Let's say they graduate, that student graduates with bachelor's degree, or if it's an associate's degree, and we equally give an extended grace period for up to 6 months. This is for full-time students. And that we do this to enable or to give a bit of time for that student to be able to seek gainful employment. Then after 6 months, then they're required to start to service the full loan, the principal and the interest. So again, these are the things that DFC does, as she had shared, in terms of when that student gets the financing. They're not paying, oh, I get 15,000, I have to pay interest on 15,000 una vez. You're in your first semester, you're only using 2,000. Second semester, you're only using 2,000. You're paying interest as you draw down. So these are some of the things that DFC does to make the program affordable and accessible.
Is it applicable from online, since we're moving on to generational changes? Is it accessible online, registering for this grant or the funding?
Yeah, excellent. Thanks so much for that question. Indeed, so a few years ago, DFC made the investment and actually this was the first loan program that DFC has brought online. Again, it's to increase accessibility for students. If you're in a rural area, not only urban, you can now apply for a DFC loan from the comfort of your own home. You're able to enter all the information that you need to. You're able to upload the documents that you need to. And equally, I just want to point this out. Part of the loan is to, if it's less than 20,000, for you to have guarantors. So the portal allows that guarantor. You just enter the email, an email is sent to that guarantor. They fill in and they provide their information. And once it is completed, and we the DFC's credit department for the area that that student is in, Belize City, Belmopan, wherever, they confirm that the application is completed. Then the process takes about 13 business days for us to review. If approved, which more than likely it is, it takes another several days for us to, the student would come in, sign the documentation, the legal paperwork, and then disbursement follows. No? So yes, we're online for the convenience of students across the country to be able to apply from the comfort of their own home.
And just to add to what Mr. Bautista is saying as well, is that any correspondence or follow-up from the point that you have submitted your application online is done virtually. So we reach out to you via email, a telephone call, WhatsApp, whatever is convenient for the customer in order to follow up if it is that we need to follow up, if we need further clarification or whatever it is that we need. So we don't necessarily need your presence until the process has been
signed.
finalized and we're ready to sign documents. So there's no back and forth in terms of having to come into the office and having to go back and come back again. So we
Yes.
try to make it as seamless as possible and as easy as possible for
Easy as
students to be
possible.
able to access.
Well, that's good to know. With specialized loans, is there a different process for an individual trying to study locally and trying to study abroad?
Okay, locally abroad pretty much would be the same thing. They do have to have some requirements if they're studying abroad, but I can let my colleague expound on that question for you.
To cover the generally, abroad or locally, we need the same documentation, really. First and foremost, we need to validate and verify that you've been accepted into a university. That's the first step. In order to access the student loan, you need an acceptance letter. Once the acceptance letter is received, then we need to verify the costing for the program. What's the cost for you to complete your associates, or what's the cost for you to pursue your bachelor's? Once we have a costing idea, that determines more or less what your collateral will be. Is it a guarantor? Is it real estate? So if you're looking at anything 20,000 or less, you'll need guarantors. So if it's over 20,000, then we look at real estate, and real estate meaning either vacant lot, house and lot. In addition to that, we also need to verify the customer. So we need an ID, a valid ID, either a social security card or a passport. In addition to that, we need to verify your address in the form of a recent utility bill. Along with the utility bill, if you're working, and we do have working students as well, so if you're working and you're applying, a job letter will help you in terms of your income verification. So those are additional information that we need. Where it may differ to abroad or between local and abroad is in terms of perhaps the boarding and lodging. You probably find that you need a bigger amount to study abroad than you would need locally here. As well as to go back to what Mr. Bautista was saying in reference to the financing. We look at boarding and lodging, whether or not you're studying locally or you're studying abroad. We look at transportation as well. So those are the main requirements. Like I mentioned earlier, based on your needs, we try to customize our program based on your individual needs. And two students may have different needs. And so based on what you need in order to complete your program, we would look at that, and we may have additional requirements that we may need to ask for.
My colleague sparked a brain cell, Raj, right?
Yeah.
So again, talking about the specialization of the program, and again, we're studying abroad. So this is another benefit of the program. Let's say you came to DFC, and let's say studies abroad, and you needed like 50K or 100K, whatever the amount may be, and you got that approved, right? That amount approved. But then when you went and you studied abroad, you said, hey, I got, well, at the university I went to, I got and it's applicable even with Belize, I'm sure. You get a scholarship or a part scholarship, work scholarship, whatever it may be. And now that can cover 50% of what you needed to complete your education. Once you can provide that proof or that evidence to DFC that, hey, I am now covered 50% of what I need to complete my education, so I don't really need that financing from the DFC anymore for that component.
So as you said, Mr. Hipolito, if a student provides proof of funding outside of the DFC corporation, the 50% has already been taken out. It's not accounted or credited for one of the interests upon the 50% that has been taken out. That's good information, Mr. Hipolito. I'm enjoying this conversation, and I hope the viewers are as well. But we'll take a short commercial break, and we'll be right back.
Hi, my name is Aislinn Maria, and I am a recipient of the DFC student loan. Well, I finally completed my bachelor's degree in psychology with a concentration in family and marriages. I mean, it was one of the hardest decisions to make to go abroad to study. It was an experience worth having. I went into DFC because I needed the help, and so I met Aiden Palacio, and she had such a warm smile, you know. It was a strange request of me, but she made my application a top priority, and she went right ahead and started dealing with every part of the loan that she needed to, so that my loan could have been approved. And I was grateful when it did, because I had needed to finish classes, and without that loan, I would not have been able to finish the class and graduate when I had needed to. So I was very thankful to DFC for that.
And we're back after the short commercial break. If the viewers at home, if you guys are just tuning in, we recap with the first segment where we discuss what the DFC is about, what their program is about, which basically, to be specific, the student loan program, and also the benefits and requirements. So from the first segment, I have a question, Ms. Hamilton. What is a guarantor?
Now, that's a very good question. And oftentimes people always wonder, what is a guarantor and what is my responsibility as a guarantor? So basically, to put in layman terms, a guarantor is somebody that would co-sign for you. So they're basically guaranteeing the loan. They're saying that I'm sure that Roger will pay back if he borrows the loan. So they're responsible for the repayment of the loan as much as the borrower is responsible for the repayment of the loan.
Also, if I have no way of funding, if I'm the borrower, the guarantor is responsible to pay back?
If the borrower defaults, we turn to the guarantor for collection. So it's a huge responsibility, and we assess the guarantor just as we assess the borrower for the loan.
If the loans are approved and the guarantor signs, how are the funds dispersed?
Since we're doing education, it's disbursed per semester. And you would recall earlier in the first segment, we've spoken about the requirements for the student loan, and we've mentioned that a course sequence is required. So what the course sequence does is just give us an idea of what is cost more or less per semester. So we have an idea of what it is that you would require per semester. Once you've registered for your semester, you're required to then submit your invoice. And based on that invoice, we do a disbursement. Not most times, but especially if we're considering local institution and UB, for example, we disperse directly to UB. So your tuition and fees is paid directly to the UB banking account. You will receive a receipt of that payment. Now, if you recall earlier, we did mention that we fund other components outside of tuition and fees, boarding and lodging, books and supplies, and so forth. That portion of that disbursement is given to the borrower. And the student or the borrower needs to account for those money via receipts. So in order to get a subsequent disbursement, you will be required to submit your receipts for those funds that you have received.
It's good that you mentioned that receipts or proof of purchase or where the loan is going from. It's great that you guys have that in place to assure that the students are doing what needs to be done.
Guys, it's all about accountability. So you need to be accountable, you need to be responsible. And believe it or not, student loans are your first step into the world of credit and creating a credit history. And so it's very important that you adhere to the covenants and the conditions of the loan terms, because after student loan, who knows, you may want to open a business and you would want a business loan. We build on your performance on your student loan to decide whether or not your character is credit worthy or you want a mortgage. So it's very important to look at what your components are and to as well look at the requirements and adhere to those requirements.
So I have another question. If I have no funds, right, like no money at all, I have no way of getting a guarantee or whatever the sort, is there a way that I still can attain this loan from the DFC?
Okay, guys, don't be discouraged. So if you don't have a guarantor, we look at, remember I mentioned earlier that we try to customize our program and we look at each individual requirement. So if you don't have a guarantor, you may be able to qualify under our second student loan program, which is a special education program. And in this program, we look at your household financial position. We assess your dependent or the dependency ratio within your household. We look at your location, where you're located. And if you qualify under the special education loan program, we can look at other ways of assisting you or in complementing the collateral that is required for the loan. So no guarantor, don't be discouraged. You can still contact us and we will see how we can help.
So Raj, my colleague made some very good points. Reference our specialized education program, right? And I just wanted to expound on it a bit for clarity. One, as she pointed out, is that it is for any particular, once they meet one criteria, so it doesn't have to be several of the criteria, and I'll just go over the criteria again, right? So a student can qualify, and this is very important for students across Belize, right? A student would be able to qualify under a specialized education program if, let's say, they're from a household, what we would refer to as an indigent household. An indigent household, if their family or themselves are extreme poverty, because you had asked, what if you don't have the money? Let's say you have a student and they're doing excellent in school, high performer, but you feel that you simply can't continue education because you suffer from extreme poverty. You would be able to apply to DFC under our specialized education program. Another point would be for vulnerable persons. Let's say again a top performer, but they're disabled in some way. We have, like my colleague had mentioned, an example. We have a student who is blind. Again, performs well in school. They would be able to fall under this program. Another one is the area of residence, as we had said. Two things come out there. It could be a person who, again, performs well in school, but they reside in a high crime rate area, right? That is an increased risk to Belize or DFC, to those individuals. They can apply for higher education through DFC, qualifying under that alone. Equally, rural areas. We have a lot of rural areas throughout Belize. One that comes to mind, let's say, for example, the Mayans who live in remote villages or so. They're doing well in school. They can apply under that. And I would say, lastly, single income households, so like single mother households or fathers, if you have that as well as single parent households. Okay, well, yes. They're not interchangeable. Can we cut there on the snip? Yeah? Okay, let me just say that. Because there's two things that confuse it, right? So you have, and lastly, you have single income households. Again, that would be single parent if it's the mother or the father. So a student, they perform well. They feel that the world is stacked against them because they don't have the financial means, or the DFC exists. This is our purpose. we exist to help students, especially in those situations, to be able to achieve higher education, because education, as we know, is pretty much a leg up out of poverty.
To receive this loan for the upcoming semester, is there a deadline?
Okay, so DFC provides financing for education loans throughout the course of the year.
No deadline.
But they can apply any time during the course of the year. However, we do know that the schools, for example, they have a deadline for application, etc. And so we often say, if students, you want to access financing and you need it by a certain time, at least apply. I mean, the sooner the better. If you can apply within, let's say, a month and a half before, and I'm talking about because getting all your information together is what is the critical component. We have students who believe that, oh, I made contact, I provided some information, I gave 1 or 2 documents, and oh, I am applying. You're just getting together your information. The application doesn't start until you have completed all of the requirements. We have received it. Then we submit that application for review and approval. Again, that window takes about maybe 13 business days. But we can't start that process until we have gathered all that we need, information and documents from that person, right? So if you need, let's say, okay, you need it by August 31st. I'm just giving a date here. August 31st, you have to have your completed application beginning of the month, or maybe mid for the previous month, to be safe. Give sufficient time, because remember, DFC, we're processing student applications from across the country. We're processing for people who are going to study abroad as well as locally. So we have to be able to provide that service to everyone, no? So you mentioned about that deadline and accessibility. That's what that's.
I think that the key is to be mindful of UB's deadline. And I know that UB has already uploaded their 2023-2024 calendar. So you can use that as a guide. You'll know when it's registration, when it's deadline to pay, your drop period, and all those sort of stuff. So if you use that as a guide, you're able to plan, and then you are able to submit your request within a timely manner. As for DFC, we don't have a cutoff. We're open to loans, we welcome loans, and we will process your application. But be mindful of the deadline for the institution that you want to attend.
Remember, you heard it, guys. Be mindful. Mr. Bautista, you have any final comments?
Okay, great. I would want to say how students can get in touch with DFC. We have all the information about the requirements that we explained on our website. Visit www.dfcbelize.org. You simply click financing for education loans, and that information is provided. You equally have the link from our website to our online student loan application portal. You go onto the portal, you create an account for yourself, and then you can commence to start an application, right? And finally, we have DFC branches located countrywide. We have an office in Toledo, but every other district and San Pedro has a DFC branch. And so a person can reach out and visit that DFC branch. Again, on our website, you click contact us, and you have all the addresses and contact information for each of those branches to commence the process with us.
Ms. Hamilton, you have any final comments as well?
I would just like to add and say that we are accessible. As Mr. Bautista has stated, we're online, guys. You have access to internet. You have data on your phone. You have your phone. You're able to visit our website, log in. Information is readily available there. Any further questions, we're a phone call away. We're a WhatsApp message away. You can send us a message and we'll respond to you.
So for those out there, contact the DFC for the incoming student semester. Thank you, Mr. Bautista, Ms. Hamilton, for being here and coming in and sitting down and giving us the intriguing knowledge for just the students abroad and viewers. Don't forget, guys, to tune in every Sunday at 8 p.m. for a different episode dropping. Like, comment, subscribe, and until then, let's join the journey.